everybody, welcome back to the Ziegler Art Museum's weekly art project. We are so excited to be back. I know we had to take a few weeks off. We want to we want to send all of our love out there. I know we're going through some stuff in this area. Laura was pretty tough on us. I hope everybody's safe and in a good place, because that's what's really important, okay? So let's try to let's get our mind off of all the stress going around Southwest Louisiana today, okay? Let's do some fun art. Of course, I'm going to start off by thanking the Ziegler Art Museum's 2020 sponsors, Mr. Richard Boyster, Home Bank, Safe Haven Enterprises, and Bubba Ostolets. Thank you so much for your support. You guys, if you have a chance, support them, because without businesses and people like this, Ziegler Art Museum just wouldn't be able to bring you the awesome stuff that we do. So thank you to our sponsors. It's been for our 2020 year, our 50th anniversary year. I'm not sure if you guys know this. COVID kind of took away our glory of that earlier this year, but this year is the Ziegler Art Museum's 50th anniversary. I think that's a pretty big deal. All right, so let's talk a little bit while we wait for some people to join us. Today's this week's, well, it's actually been our spotlight for a few weeks now. It was Spotlight the week of the storm. We left it up for last week, while we all got into our places and all of our employees got to safe places, and we decided to continue with it this week. Okay, so we've had a chance to look at this wonderful painting. This is Girl in Red Cloak by Sir John Constable. Now he is a 19th century British oil painter. He was actually born in the 18th century, in 1776. And I look at our weekly spotlights and I'm always inspired to do a project along with you guys, okay? So this week, I was actually inspired by his name, Sir John Constable, because to me, that means he must have been knighted at some point, which is really, I think, awesome. So, and when I think of knights, I think of castles and cathedrals in medieval times. And when I think of those things, I think of stained glass. So let's move Little Red Riding Hood, which is what I like to call her, to the side. Let's talk about stained glass, okay? Today, we're going to do a faux stained glass. And faux just means that it's not the real thing, right? It's kind of a fancy word for fake. Oh, I do want to let you guys know this is the class for ages. It's a great project for ages 5 to 9. But if you're older or younger and you want to try this, just absolutely. We will have another class coming up at 2 o'clock for 10 and over, okay? So let's talk about what stained glass is. Stained glass, here's a couple examples, simple examples right here. Oops, I filled up my wrong sheet, you guys. All right. So stained glass windows have been around, and they've been admired for their utility and their beauty since ancient Rome time. So the ancient Rome, so this is a long time ago. Stained glass has been around for a long time. And in ancient Rome, you could find stained glasses in just about any big villa. If someone had lots of, lots of money, they would have simple little windows like this. And archaeologists have found Roman windows that look very similar to this right here. The art of stained glass really reached its height between 1150 and 1500 BC. So that's when the churches and the great cathedrals of Europe really started using stained glass. And here is an example of one that would be in a church. This is actually a stained glass it's circa 1390. So that means it was produced and placed into the cathedral in the year 1390, so that was a long time ago. This panel, so stained glass, the churches in medieval time, they used stained glass to tell a story. Most people who lived in that time didn't know how to read, and specifically, they couldn't even read their Bibles. So the church would make these beautiful pictures depicting all of the important stories of the Bible. So oftentimes a stained glass window is trying to tell a story. This right here is called the Adoration of the Magi, and it's one of the 7 scenes from the life of Christ. This is just a single piece, a part of a larger ensemble but it's the only one that survived. This one is actually at the Metropolitan Museum in New York right now, but it is originally from a church in Vienna. So it's just really beautiful. Glass. They made glass. The basic ingredients, especially for like Roman glass, was simply sand and wood ash, something that they actually call pot ash, but it's just the ash from burning wood. And they would mix that and melt it together, and it would become molten. And then they would add different metals to the glass to change it into these different colors. And then the glass would cool. It's actually a really cool process, and if you have a chance and your parents can find something that kind of shows you how about glass making, it's something really interesting to watch. So they're really very beautiful pieces, and you can see here each color is a different piece of glass here. You see the designs here, and this is the edge, so these are just some clear glass right here. But you can almost tell on this picture how the light from the window shines through it and makes it almost iridescent and beautiful, right? So our watercolors today are going to kind of give us that effect. I liked this one. This is a more modern stained glass. Artists today like to do little stained glass windows. People will actually have them in their homes. And they like to do, I have seen stained glass horses, stained glass crosses, sun and moon, which is what we're doing next at our next class. I liked this little ship right here. So what they do is they have these sheets of glass and color, and they cut them into pieces, and they put them together kind of like a puzzle. And they use lead, which is a molten metal, to stick those pieces of glass together. And that's what they end up with. So today, we're going to do faux stained glass. I have Bailey with me today, and I know she's been looking at some interesting stuff about stained glass.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you got anything you want to share with us before we start our project?
Sure. When most people think of stained glass, they think of those beautiful, big, old cathedrals like you were talking about.
Yes, yep, just like this. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But there are some modern artists that kind of played with stained glass in a modern art sense, kind of minimal, really like austere and stripped down,
so it's not all big and elaborate like the church stained
Yes.
glasses. Ooh, I can't wait to see. She's going to share us the iPad.
This is Ellsworth Kelly's Transcendent Church of the Arts.
Oh, look at this. Okay.
He was 90 years old when he started.
Did this? Wow. Can you imagine at 90 taking on a project like this? So this is really beautiful. Look at how simple the colored glass is, but what an effect it makes on the room. Can you see all of this? And I'm not sure if you can see these pictures right here. These are minimalist paintings, right? You can just see they're just two colors, but these pictures still tell the 12 scenes of Christ, correct? It's all, that's amazing. I love this. And this is located in Austin, Texas?
Yes.
So you think we could maybe share the name of it in a link or something at the bottom of the video?
I'll post it in the comments where y'all can see, but it's definitely like a place that's open for visitors, which is really cool. It's like a piece of art that you can go into and like walk around inside.
That's wonderful. Austin is not that far. What a great city to visit anyway. Thank you. All right. If you find, ooh, you guys see that one? Look at how beautiful. See that light shining through? You can see the difference between your colors. See how these are a darker color and that light's not coming through as much as on the yellow?
Yes.
That's really beautiful.
This
is really similar to the project we're about to do.
I know, that's why I picked that picture.
Very cool.
It actually wasn't done until after he died. Look, there's a better picture of the station.
These are the pictures, the stations of the cross.
But he gave the contract, the people every single instruction on like the colors and the.
So he didn't get to see it completed?
No.
Oh, but what a shame.
But it came out.
But beautiful.
So beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, let's talk about our art project today, okay? Let's talk about supplies. You know, Miss Jessica, I love watercolors. So, of course, we're using watercolors. It's a great substitute for glass because although my pan, and if you have pan watercolors, are probably a little more opaque than glass, if you're using a liquid watercolor, you'll really get that translucent look. So we got our watercolors. Look at what I did when we had no power after the storm, guys. I cleaned all of my watercolor palettes are clean again. They're all clean. Hey, you gotta do something when the power's out, right? All right, you're also gonna need a piece of paper. If you have watercolor paper, that's fabulous. I'm not using watercolor paper today. I will give you a few hints as we're going because your water paper will act a little differently than my paper. I just have a nice heavyweight drawing paper. Cardstock could definitely work for this. We're just pretty much whatever you have, except really thin computer paper that will not work with watercolor. So cardstock would be okay, drawing paper, multimedia paper, something like that. Of course, we have our water, you know, my water bowl. In case there's anybody new, I do like to explain everything each time. So I love a dog bowl for my water, for watercolors, especially when you're working with kids, okay? And this is for ages 5 to 9. Trust me, this is a good idea. One, your water is super sturdy. They're not going to be able to accidentally tip this over. And two, there's two sides to it. So I put a sponge in one side and it allows me to wipe my brush off and clean it so that my painting water stays clean. Because if you use brown and you wash your brush and put all your brown paint in your painting water, it's really going to affect your colors. So remember that. So, and we'll talk about that as we're doing it. You get to decide which medium you'll be using today. Some of you may have oil pastels at home. If you do, I would definitely recommend using them for this project. Oil pastels are softer. They're they go on the paper much thicker, and we really want that nice thick line of color to hold our watercolors separate so our colors don't leach together. But because I'm pretty convinced most of you are going to be using crayons, I'm going to go ahead and use a crayon too, so I can walk you through that. I'm using a black crayon. I do want you to know that you can use any color. I'm going to show you an example here. I did one flower and I used purple instead of black. It's our art. We get to decide if what we want to do. But what I will tell you is that it definitely has less of a stained glass look. The black just makes it look more like that lead. Okay, so I would recommend the black, but you know, if you want to do another color, Miss Jessica is not going to stop you. So, and then of course I always have a rag or a paper towel to wipe my stuff on. I'm gonna put my old pastels away because you guys know I'll knock them over if they stay next to me. All right, so let's put this one away. No, wait, I do want to show you some examples of two I did here with flowers. We're going to do the sun today, but I just want to show you this. How I did this is I started by just drawing very simple shapes. Remember, stained glass are usually really simple shapes. This flower, it's simply 3 petals and a stem and a leaf. And I drew that first, and then I added all those lines, okay? So we're going to kind of do the same process, but with the sun, but I'd love to see you guys get really creative and do something else with it, okay? So let's put these to the side and look at the sun. Now, one thing I did notice after I decided we were doing the sun today is that I didn't tell you guys to grab a circle tracer. There are some art teachers who don't like circle tracers, and that's okay, and I understand what they're saying. I don't mind using tracers, using rulers to make straight lines, circles to make circles. I want art to be fun, and if you're going to stress out about making a perfect circle, I don't want you to have to do that. If you or your parent can't find you a circle tracer real quick, something that fits nicely in the middle of your paper like this, that's all right. We will just draw one freehand. It's okay, guys, really. But if you have a circle tracer, see if your parents can grab one for you, okay? And I will try not to forget that next time. You definitely need the circle tracer for the next class at 2 o'clock. So, are you guys ready to start making our faux stuff? Let's get going. If you have a color wheel, I highly recommend that you print out a color wheel. If your parents can print one out or purchase one maybe at an art supply store or I think even the dollar store sometimes in their art section has these. We are going to be doing a rainbow effect, and this of course shows us this rainbow order. So I just have it, I'm going to have it off to the side. You probably won't really be able to see it most of the time, but just to have it, it helps you know, it helps you know what colors are friends that will get along really well. It helps you know what colors are opposite of each other. This green is directly opposite of this red, which means that they will contrast nicely. So having a color wheel is always a nice thing to have, okay? All right. We have our blank piece of paper, our black crayon or oil pastel, or whatever color you decided. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make the edge of our paper. And we're gonna simply do that by making a big box around the paper. If you want to use a ruler to make a straight line, absolutely go for it. I am not going to be too fussy about it. I'm just gonna draw it, okay? So I'm gonna draw my very outside edge just slightly above my edge. And you're gonna wanna push really hard, especially if you're using crayon, because we really wanna build up that that waxy color, because again, that's gonna keep our watercolors from blending together. We don't wanna blend them today. So if you notice, I didn't go quite to the edge. Maybe this one a little closer. All right. And then you're just going to keep doing that all around the 4 edges. Ooh, I got a little wavy there. That's okay. That's all right. We're going to it's still going to turn out beautiful. Again, almost to the edge. And then I'm going to start again right here. Keep going. Nice dark line. You guys got this, right? All right. And now I'm going to connect my last side. Now your oil pastel lines might be a little thicker than mine, and that is absolutely okay. Okay? Again, your oil pastel is going to really hold your colors much better than the crayon. Those of us using crayon are going to have to work a little harder, but that's all right too. Okay, so we have our first square. So now the next step is to add a square inside of it. So you're going to think, and it's going to be a little over, your fingers are probably much smaller than Miss Jessica's, so it might be 2 fingers away for you. But for me, I'm just going to put my finger right here, and I'm going to make a little dot, and that's going to show me how far away from the edge. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Put the same finger, make a little dot, and that's how I know how far and where it's going to be. So I'm going to start. Let me show you this next line, and we're just going to make another box. Ooh, that one, look at that. I went a little crazy with that line. Ooh. You know what that means? That means my box is just gonna have lots of character, and I like that. All right, I'm using my finger to measure down here one more time. Hi, Glenda Guillory. I'm so glad you joined us today. Can't wait to see what you guys are working on if you do the project with us. Feel free to ask any questions. I've got Bailey here. She's watching all the comments, so she'll let me know if anybody has any questions. All right, I went a little fast on there, so I didn't have a nice good line. Remember, don't be too fussy about your lines being straight. It's not the end of the world. And also, I'm asking you to push hard, so if you accidentally break your crayon or your oil pastel, it's okay. Those of you who have been in my live class know I love broken crayons and broken oil pastels because it just means more people can use them. They color just as well, even when they're broken. All right, so we're gonna go all the way. So now you should have 2 squares. It kind of looks like an old-fashioned TV frame. We don't have that anymore. It just looks like a picture frame, right? So the next step is we're gonna add some lines in here just to make some interest so that we can make different colored glass. So we're gonna pretend like we're putting different colored glass in there. And I'm gonna start by making a square in this corner. Right there. I just continued those 2 lines and made a little square. So let's go ahead and do that in all 4 corners. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to continue it all the way down and match it up to the outside box. Just like that. All right, I'm going to show you one more time. So take this line all the way down to your outside box, and this line all the way down to your outside box. All right, I'm going to do the same thing here. Make a nice dark line so that all my watercolors stay separate. All right, there we are. So now we're going to just add a few straight lines in there to make some boxes. You get to decide how big your boxes are. It depends. Do you want to take a long time to paint? You can make little tiny boxes all the way across. You could just leave it one piece if you just want it one color. I think I'm going to go with the 4 boxes. I kind of like that. So to do the 4 boxes, I'm going to put my first line right in the center. I'm not measuring. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? And now I'm going to make a line in the center of each of these rectangles we made, right? We made some rectangles here. So now we have squares, rectangle, and another square. It's not perfectly rectangle, but that's okay. All right, on the side, I only fit about 3. So I'm going to break it into 3. I'm going to put my lines right there where my fingers are. Again, they don't have to be measured and perfect. We're having fun. We're not making perfection. All right, so here's this long edge. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to just follow exactly where my lines are up there. So I'm going to put one in the middle. I'm going to put one right here. See that one? And I'm going to put it right here. And we're going to do the same thing right here. I bet you guys are doing awesome. All right, we now have a stained glass frame around our page. Yay, everybody get excited. All right, so now hopefully your parent was able to find you a circle. Like I'm using a bowl. It could be a lid to like maybe a coffee lid, anything that's round, that's perfectly round, okay? And excuse me, I have to take a drink of water. And if it's bigger or smaller than mine, that is absolutely okay. That will just make yours a little more unique. All right, so I'm going to show you first how to trace this, and then I'm going to show you real quick on another piece of paper if you don't have a circle tracer, and we'll just draw a circle, okay? So when you look at your bowl or your lid or whatever you have, you want to only a half of a circle. So we're not going to trace the whole thing. We could, but we're doing a rising sun today. So to follow along with the project, I'm going to put it right in the center of my paper. And I'm going to look at it and see how big. I think that's just perfect, okay? I'm going to hold my circle tracer in its spot real tight. You want to hold down so it doesn't move. Sorry, guys. Whew. All right. So I'm taking my crayon or my oil pastel. I'm going to place it close to my circle tracer, pushing down hard, and I'm just going to go trace all the way around. The trick is to put that pencil, that crayon, that oil pastel, whatever you're using, you want it to touch. I'm actually touching the glass. Ta-da! Pretty good, right? All right. Oh, Bailey needs my circle tracer. Okay, I'll try to take it away from her. So if you don't have a circle tracer, let me draw a line real quick for you. It is absolutely okay. You're just going to draw a half circle, and you're going to start from one side. You know, this will be the middle of my paper. So it might be best to put little marks as to where you want. So I want my sun to be about this big. So I'm going to put one mark here, and I'm going to look and see about the same amount of distance from my finger on this side. And I think just about there. And that gives me a place to start and a place to stop. And I think I want it to be at least this tall. All right, so have the 3 dots. You have a starting place, stopping place, and a place right in the middle that tells you how tall you want your sun. And now it's going to be super easy. See how I can draw this where you guys can see. And now I'm just going to connect these dots. Whoops. It's not perfect, but it would work, and it's still going to look pretty. So, all right, not perfect. Maybe it'll just be a darker line. There we go. Kinda. Uh-oh, Bailey got crayon all over my bowl. That's all right. It washes off. All right, so let's flip back over to our side. It's almost time to paint. Let's get our, what I'm calling, I guess, sunbeams. Sunbeams. We are going to be making these lines right here. I recommend we start in the very center, okay? I didn't do that with this picture, and I should have. So right in the center of our sun, we don't want our lines to go through our sun, so nothing happens in our sun. We're going to start at the sun, and we're going to go straight up to the top of our box, to the top of our frame. Don't go through your frame. You don't want to go through your beautiful frame. We're going to paint that later. So just a nice dark line straight up, okay? And then decide how many sunbeams you're going to do. I'm going to just go off. So you see how I went to the side? That the one in the middle is straight up and down, but now I'm starting to lean them out, right? I want them to span out just like we were drawing a big sun with all the sunbeams coming out. So I don't mind how big that is. Let's see. I think that's good. Now I'm going to try to mirror it exactly the same. I'm going to do another line right here. Start at my sun, go up to my frame. I'll do another one like this. And then how about one more like this? All right, look at that. It already kind of looks like stained glass, doesn't it? So we are now done drawing portion. Now I want you to look back at your lines, see if there are any lines that don't look really dark, that look like there might be too much white in them. Remember, we've got to make a little barrier from in between our paints, okay? Oh, Miss Jessica just broke her. That was a brand new crayon too.
It's a matter of time.
Yep, it was inevitable, I promise you guys. Miss Jessica breaks crayons and oil pastels so much. I'm just making my lines darker. Take your time. This is really important. And I'll show you why we're painting, but this is definitely worth the time to make sure you have your dark lines, guys, okay? Don't try to rush this portion of it. I think that's pretty good. So I am going to put my crayon away. Now it's time to get painting. This is Miss Jessica's favorite part. I have my rag. Oh, I never even mentioned my round brush. You know me. This is my all-time favorite brush to use with projects with the kids. Just a medium round brush. If you have a larger one or a smaller one, that's fine. A larger one will just be faster painting and a smaller one will be slower, and that's okay. It still works. Just as long as you got something to get the paint to the paper. Now, there's a lot of freedom when it comes to adding color to your picture, okay? If you notice, I did kind of a rainbow effect right here. And if you would like to do that, then go ahead and follow along with the colors that I'm doing. If you don't want a rainbow effect, if you want this all to be different colored blues, you could do that. I'm lucky enough to have 5 different blues here. And I could easily just make a sky on the outside that was all blue. It is completely up to you. You really do have freedom, and you at this point could paint colors anywhere you want. But if you would like to follow along with this rainbow effect in the sun, then you're gonna follow me, okay? We are gonna start with the sun. And I want my sun nice and bright. So I want it, and it's a really light color, so it's good to start with light colors. So let's wake up our paint. All right, you get some water in your brush, just some clean water, and you're gonna dip that onto your paint, and we're gonna wake it up. See what happens when you put that water in there? You can see the paint on my brush. You're waking it up so you can use it. Now I want you to kind of wipe it off a little, because we're about to pick up more clean water. You don't want to put your brush straight in your clean water, because then you'll have yellow water. All right, so now I'm gonna pick up a lot of water. I'm gonna just put a lot of water on there, because this is a pretty big space. And now I'm gonna get over here to my woke up. That's funny, my paint, it's woke. And I'm gonna swirl it around. I really want to get a lot of color on my brush. I like the bright color. Okay, so I'm gonna swirl it around till I get some paint on there, and then we're gonna start painting, guys. You're gonna, or I shouldn't say guys, I'm gonna call you artists. Probably boys and girls out there. And we're just gonna start putting it down. Now if you notice, do you see how my color's getting lighter and lighter? It's because I'm out of water and I'm out of paint. Again, I don't want to take this brush with all this yellow color and put it straight into my clean water. So I'm gonna just wipe it off real quick and then pick up my clean. I still got a little in there, but not nearly as much as what would happen before. So back to swishing it around and getting all that color. Now with watercolor, there's a lot of give with watercolor. Watercolor can be erased, well, quote unquote erased, not with an eraser, but with just clean water. You can kind of get rid of most of the pigment. That's why I love it so much. It's so versatile. And you can decide. Now, if you think your color is too dark, what you'll do is you'll clean your brush and you're just gonna pick up water and you'll paint with just water. And that's gonna kind of loosen and lighten up your color. If you don't like your color and you don't think it's bright enough, what you can do is swish it, just swirl it back around in your color and pick up more of that pigment. Fancy word for color, okay? All right, so your sun should be done. I'm gonna go from left to right for our rainbow, okay? So the rainbow Does everybody know the Roy G. Biv? Everyone's heard of Roy G. Biv? Roy, R-O-Y, that's red, orange, and yellow. Biv, B-I-V, and that's blue, indigo, and violet. Okay? We're not using the exact colors. I'm gonna be a little, we're gonna have a little more freedom than that. But that is something super duper important to remember, your rainbow colors, especially for Miss Jessica. I love rainbow colors. All right, I love to make sure everything's in order. I'm going to start with this dark reddish color. And if you happen to be someone who has won some art supplies from us, then you have this exact same palette, so you can definitely follow along. If you don't have the same palette, just find a color that's pretty close. So we're looking for a dark reddish color right now, okay? So I did the same thing. I woke it up, and I'm swishing it around. I'm getting paint onto my brush. It's a little harder to see because it's dark, and I'm pushing it down. Now that is super dark to me, and I think I want to lighten it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe my brush up. I'm going to pick up just some water, and I'm going to put more water in that. There, see how it kind of lightens it up and makes it go a little farther? Now if I wanted to darken it, I just, uh-oh, look, my brush hit my yellow. But do you see why it's important to have that really good crayon? If there wasn't crayon right there, see, my sun is still wet, and this wet paint would have tried to soak into my sun if there wasn't that boundary right there. So that's why that was so important. Now this is good. I want to show you guys this. You see how there's a little bit of water that's kind of puddling right there on my paper? I'm going to dry my brush off so it's slightly damp. Okay, I can touch it. It's still wet. But what a damp brush does is it actually soaks up paint. Do you see where it kind of left a light piece right there? So that got rid of my little, I had just a little too much water. And so a damp brush can help with that. All right, I think I'm happy with that. We're gonna wipe my brush off on the sponge, and I'm gonna pick another color. I'm gonna go to a lighter reddish color. You know, pinks, they're in the red family, so I'm gonna go with a pink. I like this one right here. So that's the one I'm gonna wake up. Wipe off a little. Get some clean water. All right, swish around there and get some color on that brush. And here we go. Oh, that's a nice bright pink. Look at that. I like that. I think I want it a little darker, so I'm going to actually just pick, instead of picking up water, I'm just going to pick up more paint. See how it made that darker? So that's something to remember. If you want lighter color, you're going to add water when it comes to watercolor. Now that's different if you use acrylics or washable paint. It's not something, we still haven't used it. Miss Jessica really loves watercolors for kids, you guys. It's just, it's so forgiving, and so there's so much you can do with it. All right, so we did the R in Roy G. Biv. Next is O. You guys all remember what O stands for? Bailey, what's O for? You're the only one here. Orange, that's right. I think I have enough room to do 2 oranges, so I'm going to do a dark orange first. Oh, I kind of like this dark orange, and then I might do that light orange next. So wake up your paint. It's always important to remember after you wake it up, wipe it off, because you just got to go back for clean water. And I'm going to really, I know I want this to be kind of dark, so I'm going to really swish it around there and get a lot of paint on my brush. And this is a large section, so it's going to take more paint, more water. Ooh, look at that beautiful bright orange. Very nice. Nice and slow around your edges. You can paint faster away from your edges. When you're by your edges, you want to go slow. All right, wiping it off because I'm picking up clean water. Really swish it around there. All right. I think now I'm just going to pick up just pink because we got a little light right there. Okay, here I am to an edge again, so I have to slow down. And then you can paint much faster on the inside. All right, I'm going to pick up a little more water. Just a little, not as much as normal because I only have a little space left, right? All right. Very nice. All right. I'm now going to use the lighter orange. So let's wake this up. Let's see what this looks like. This is a really pale orange. All right, here we go. Let's make sure, because it's such a light color, I'm going to make sure it's almost peachy. I like it. I'll make sure there's a lot of it on my brush. Because one, I have a huge section, right? So you're going to need a lot. Oh yeah, it's nice and orange on the paper. More color. Yep, I wanted darker, so I picked up some more pigment. I'm going to put more water. Oops! Look at what happened. I don't know, can you guys see the paint floating on the top? I forgot to wipe my brush.
No.
That's all right. Thankfully, it's a pretty light color.
I keep forgetting to use my clean water.
Well, careful, that's going to change your colors.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, I did it again. This one needs a lot of water and a lot of paint. It's a big section. So nice and slow around your edges. All right. Wipe the brush. I might go back with a second coat just to see if I can get this even darker. So right now I'm just putting the base down. It's a really light color. I want it to be nice and bold, just like the other ones. So what I'm going to do is I've already got a bunch of water on in the paint. So I'm just going to pick up some more color. And my section's already white. I meant wet. So I can now just darken it up with more pigment. See that? Getting drier. I might have to get some more water soon. Wipe up my brush, pick up some more water. There we go. There we go. Looking good, guys. Looking good. All right. We are now going to move over to, no, there is yellow in this one. But if you notice, there are more sections. I put one less section in this one. So I'm actually going to cut the yellow out. So, yes, I am passing up the Y in Roy, but that's okay. I don't mind it because my sun is yellow, so I already have the yellow in there. So we're going to go straight over to green, okay? So I'm going to start with the green. If you have more lines than I do, you can fit more colors in. So let's decide what green we want to use. I can't use that one. Look at how much that one's gone. I think I'm going to use this green up here. Very basic grassy green. I think it'll look good. So I woke it up a bit. Now I'm going to dry off. Not dry off, but clean off. Get some cleanish water because now there's orange in it. Swirl it all around. Get all that color in your brush. You see those bubbles I made in there? If you swirl it too hard, you're going to get those bubbles. So that was just me showing you what not to do. Because sometimes you can pick up those bubbles with your brush, like I just did. I'm going to show you guys. There's a bubble on my brush. And when you put it on, you actually, oh, I popped them, but some of them, they're still there. And it's absolutely fine. It'll look really cool on your picture. It's just going to give you a different texture. Something to keep in mind. That's a nice bold color. Wiping off that extra because I've got to pick up some clean water. Swish it around, not so hard. Oh no, look, I just made a mess. I'm gonna have to clean them again.
A bunch of bubbles.
You have bubbles?
I have bubbles everywhere.
All right, so nice and slow with your edges, guys and gals, artists. And a little faster on the inside. I'm running out of, it's not spreading on my paper very well, which must mean I need more clean water. And when you get more clean water, you gotta pick up more paint. Ooh, that's nice and dark. That's a pretty green. All right. All right, now let's move on. Next color, Roy G. Biv B is for blue. All right, let's see. I'm gonna go and use this really nice dark blue. So I woke it up. Actually, it woke up so quickly and so good. I think I don't even have to get clean water. Yep, this is perfect. All right, nice and slow at the edges. I'm gonna tell you guys every time I paint close to an edge. Now I need more water. So I washed my brush off. I wiped it off real quick to pick up clean water. Nice and slow. And then faster in there. All right, I can't wait to see you guys' stuff. I know some of you are in school and back, and said a lot of you are not in school. I know I think Jeff Davis Parish is out of school right now. So hopefully you're taking this opportunity to watch. If you're not watching us live, that's okay. You can still ask us questions. We continuously monitor our social media, so we will see y'all with your questions. And remember, we're here every Thursday. I know we took that time off during the storm, but we are here every Thursday for live classes. Often there's 2 classes. I do one at 1 o'clock for the younger kids, and then at 2 o'clock for the older kids. Every once in a while I only have one project that we kind of share together, but usually it's the 2. All right, I'm on to the indigo, and indigo is a color kind of between purplish and bluish, and I happen to have this like purplish blue here, so that's the color I'm going to use. I wouldn't necessarily, it's more of a periwinkle blue, but it's going to work in our rainbow. Pick up more water. Another light color. I'm going to have to go over this with more pigment so it matches my other bright, bold colors. So I've got all the water and color around, and now I'm going to take my brush, get more paint. I don't want more water, I just want more pigment. See how that darkened that up a bit? So now it just looks like it fits better with my other colors. And last but not least is V for violet. Violet, of course, is a purpley color. I'm actually going to go with a nice dark purple color. Wipe your brush off. Let's wake up my purple. Pick up some water. This is a nice dark color. I probably don't need as much. Yeah, look how nice and dark that is. So I didn't need to swirl my brush around as much. All right, we are getting close to a finished project, guys. I'm loving it.
Sounds fun.
All right, now we're going to paint our frames, the frames that we did. These are all still glass pieces. This is where you have absolute freedom. You can do any color order, anything you want. I'm going to start up here, and we're just going to paint, okay, guys? Paint and kind of talk to you guys. Did we come up? Oh, Bailey, we were talking earlier about a question of the day. What did we, we wanted to ask you, have you ever seen stained glass in person? Have you ever been somewhere? Do you remember maybe what your favorite place? Is there a church you know that has a really beautiful stained glass? Do you have an aunt or an uncle who have stained glass at their house? My aunt actually makes stained glass pieces. So everyone in our family has a little stained glass piece. My favorite is a horse she did one year. I absolutely love it. Now, if you see me, I put green over here, and I put the green way over here because it's really far away from this green. I didn't want to put those colors close together. Now I'm doing another pink, and because there's pink over here, I'm going to go to this side and paint this pink. Cassidy Connor, welcome. We're so glad to have you. We hope that you're enjoying. If you're not able to follow along now, our video will be uploaded. We upload our videos not only to Facebook, but it's also on our YouTube page. Go ahead and tell us what our YouTube page is.
You can just find us at Ziegler Art Museum,
Okay.
and all of our past projects are uploaded to our channel. So if there's something you missed that you want to try out and follow along, then you can watch.
Yep, and if you have these supplies, you probably have the supplies for most of the projects we've done. All right, so we're just gonna keep painting. So question of the day. So Bailey, what do you have a memorable piece that you have seen, that you've thought about, that you remember?
Well, I went to a church called St. Stephen's back home that has big, tall stained glass windows that are the different saints that the church is named after.
Yeah.
So those are definitely beautiful, and I remember them so vividly. But what I'm thinking of is, have y'all ever done those like craft sun catcher things?
Yes.
At Walmart? Yeah.
Yes, where you get the little packs of them. I used to do them all the time.
We did them with my mom when we were little, and I remember being in our old house and putting them in the kitchen window.
Oh, I
so
bet.
fun, and they look like stained glass, but they're just basically what we're doing
Clear
now.
paint on plastic. They
Yeah.
just put it on plastic so that it can go through, the light can go through it. I love that.
It's so fun.
Let's see. I think when I was growing up, I would visit my grandparents in Forsyth, Georgia, and they had a church that we went to. That I would sit there during service. I know I should have been listening to service, but I was looking at these windows, and I knew at the time that it was telling the stories that were in the Bible. And I remember trying to sit there and decipher them, and decide like, ooh, who is that and what are they doing? And so that's a cool memory I have. Let's pick some blues here. All right, I'm getting closer, guys. We're almost done with our stained glass. Blues are always, if you guys notice, crayons and paints, the blue always goes first. I think it's because it's the sky. We paint skies and water so often.
Yes.
But all of my palettes, the blues, at least one blue is missing. But I make it work. You can still, even this one that's almost empty, you could still get some stuff in there.
Yeah, they're still plenty.
I'm going to do all 4 of my corners the same bright pink. You don't have to do that, but I like it. All right. A few more boxes, maybe a few more yellows. Let's see. Because I'm using yellow, I had to wash my brush really well. I don't want any other colors sneaking in there. Oh no, that's exact opposite. Okay, let's do this one. And let's see. I can do this reddish orange over here. Ooh, I do love those bright, bold colors. And maybe a purple right here. Ooh, that's dark. Okay, I'm gonna wipe some of that off and get some water to make that less dark. And now, if I have too much water in there, remember what you do is you kind of dry your brush off just a bit, and then that damp brush is gonna soak up all that extra water. See that? Pretty cool. Wow. It's kind of a magic trick. I just love watercolor, the stuff you can do with it. Oh, I got one more square in between a green and orange. Let's go with green. I need
Use my dirty water.
All right. Did you see I kind of got over in my yellow right there? I'm going to wash my brush off. I'm kind of glad I did that so I can show you guys what to do. If you accidentally get wrong color into another color, you want your brush with some clean water, but not too wet. You see, that's too wet. So I'm going to just make it just a little more damp than if I was trying to pick up extra water. And now I'm just going to kind of use that clean water to just kind of make it go away a little. And that didn't quite work, so I think what I'm going to do is pick up some more yellow and just repaint over it. There we go. Now you'll never even tell I did that. All right. All right. So I want to thank you guys for joining us for this amazing art project. If you'd like to come back at 2, we'll do another project that's about 15 minutes away. It's a little more difficult, so this can be for 10 and up. I hope you kiddos, you guys had a wonderful time. I hope you learned something, but most importantly, I hope you had fun. You guys stay safe. Don't forget to thank our sponsors if you ever can. One more shout out, Mr. Richard Boyster, Home Bank, Safe Haven, Bubba Oscillets. Thank you for everything. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.